Hello, Markham Gardens family. Daniel Markham here. Just bringing you along today. I'm at a client's house today, and I am rejuvenating their flower and garden beds. Basically, what happened is the client called me up and let me know that they've tried to plant different things from flowers to vines and things in their garden beds, and every single year they don't thrive. They don't do well. And so I came by and I took a look at their garden, and what I found was there was a serious lack of organic material in their garden beds. And so basically they've been planting into this dirt. And I should also note that the dirt is uncovered. So there's no mulch on top of the dirt. There's no organic material, no leaves, nothing like that, like in the forest, how nature does it, to keep that soil alive and to keep it thriving. And so a lot of those plants that she would try to plant, they may make it for one season, but those perennials should come back every year, and they weren't. If they were starting to come back, there just wasn't very good growth. They definitely were not thriving like they should have. And so I wanted to bring you guys along today to show you how I rejuvenate these beds. Let me turn it around here and I'll kind of show you what I've got going on with these beds and kind of what they look like. All right, guys, so basically what we're seeing here is this garden bed right here. This one is not doing too bad. See, this one has a whole bunch of leaves in there. It's got a whole bunch of mulch and things to go ahead and feed all of these plants that are in here. And you can see she's got a Confederate rose growing here. You can tell it's doing really, really well. We've got some other plants growing here and some other grasses and things like that. We've even got a clematis growing here on the wall, and they're all doing really, really well. However, there's a spot right over here. Let me show you. You guys can see that this right here, you can see it's growing well in this bed because last year we ended up rejuvenating this bed, and so now all of these vines are going nuts. The grass is growing amazing. There's no issues here, but we ended up having several of the beds that look about like this, guys, and you can see there's just a serious lack of there's a lack of organic material. Basically, this soil is uncovered. It's not been covered up, which means this soil is in the process of dying, guys. If you don't have your soil covered in some sort of a mulch, it is in the process of dying. The sun, the UV rays, the heat, and everything kills off all of the microorganisms and kills your soil, and therefore plants won't do real well in it. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and set you up here and just show you what I do with these beds to go ahead and rejuvenate them, to get them reestablished. Now, there is nothing wrong with their soil at this location. The soil is great. The issue is that there's no organic material to cover the soil to keep it alive. And if we will re-add that organic material back on top of the soil will rejuvenate itself. All of the microorganisms will come back. The fungus will begin to dominate. The mycorrhiza will take off, and it will rejuvenate those garden beds. So I'm going to set you guys up here and just kind of walk you through the process of how I rejuvenate these garden beds so that she can begin to plant whatever she wants in these year after year. And year after year, the garden beds will become more and more fertile instead of losing nutrition and basically dying year after year. So let me get you guys turned around and I'll show you that. All right, guys, I hope you guys can see fairly well there, but you can see right here, I've already begun to rejuvenate this bed. And all I'm doing, guys, is I'm taking this tine rake, just a small tine rake. There's no reason to churn this up. There's no reason to use a rototiller on this. We don't want to uncover the soil that's really deep because the deep stuff is probably still alive. But what I want to do is I want to go through here and I just want to rejuvenate this bed, guys. I just want to work this soil. I want to go ahead and pull all of the dead roots that are off of the top. And as I do this, I want to break this up. And you guys can see here, if I pull some of this up, I mean, there's not anything major with this soil. The soil's not bad, guys. It's just that it lacks a lot of organic material on top of it. And so because it hasn't had organic material on top, it has begun to lose nutrition. And all of the microorganisms and such have begun to die in this soil. And so all I'm doing is I'm just churning this bed up, breaking up the hard ground. Guys, if you don't have organic material in there and you don't have microorganisms, the ground becomes really, really hard. And it gets really, really hard to work it. So what you're going to want to do, guys, is you'll want to start at the back side of it just so you're not stepping on it and recompacting it. And you want to work your way out of the garden. So you guys can see I'm just leveling it as I go. And let me get you guys up here so you can see what I'm seeing here. Sorry about my finger being in there. And I'm just basically, guys, I'm working this soil and just loosening it up. I want to make sure all this soil is no longer compacted. And for some of you, this may take a little bit more, guys. For some of you, your soil may be so compacted and so dead that it's dense, like almost concrete. And in that case, sometimes I'll bring a pickaxe in here and I'll go ahead and churn it all up. But for this bed right here, you know, she had jasmine planted in here, vining jasmine. And any of you that know about vining jasmine, you know that stuff is tough. But it does require a lot of nutrient. It does suck up the nutrients from the soil. And so you know, it ended up, it was doing well, and she noticed that year after year it started declining, and year after year it got worse and worse. And then I found out after speaking with them that year after year they had been removing all of the leaf fall. They had been removing all of the you know, the grass clippings and stuff from trimmings. They had been removing all of that, and so no organic material was being fed back into that soil. And you guys know from my other videos and the stuff that I've talked about, I'm a huge advocate for, you know, organic material in your soil and making sure that you're building that biolife and creating a habitat for those microorganisms to create a fertile soil for your plants. So that's what we're doing today, guys. You can see there I just churned it up. Give me just a second and I'm going to show you the next step that we do after I've churned it up and I've pulled out all of the loose roots. I've pulled out all of the weeds, things like that. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover this soil. We're going to make sure it's covered in a good organic material that's going to break down over time and make this soil more fertile as time goes by. So give me a second and I'll get you set up on that. Alright guys, so what you've seen me do here is these are wood chips. Let me get down here and I'll show you what these wood chips are. Basically they are hard wood chips. This is what I've started with in some of my previous videos. You've seen me, this is what I make soil out of for the chickens. But I've gone ahead and brought some wood chips that have yet to break down, and I'm going to go ahead and cover this bed. You guys can see I've already churned this bed. It's nice and soft and broken up. And I've already gone ahead and broke it all loose, got rid of a bunch of the weeds. And this is the area right here that we're covering. And so I'm just taking load after load of these wood chips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread these wood chips out over this bed. Basically, these wood chips are going to cover about, I would say about 6 to 8 inches deep in the center portions, and then it will begin to taper off as it runs to the edges of the bed, just so we're not overflowing and things like that. But I'm going to run about 6 to 8 inches, guys, and 6 to 8 inches is decent for making sure that there's enough moisture that remains underneath the wood chips to go ahead and keep those microbes alive and begin to rejuvenate that soil. If you've got it any thinner than that, I would say 4 inches at the the minimum. Anything thinner than that and air is able to get in there, and it will also dry that soil out again. So the thicker you can get, the better. When you get to about 8 inches, guys, you're running into a little bit too thick, and at that point you can begin basically choking out plants. It's really effective if you want to get rid of weeds and you want to keep weeds out of your bed. But you want to stick around about 6 inches, guys. 6 to 8 inches deep is what I usually do. And especially here in southeast Texas, we get 55 inches of rain per year. And these wood chips are going to break down fast, guys. I mean, they are going to break down super fast. So I'm not concerned about those 6 to 8 inches, because in one summer that 6 to 8 inches is going to drop to about 4 inches. And so that's not an issue, but we'll have about an inch and a half of black soil underneath those wood chips once they start breaking down. So I'm going to go ahead and get this spread, and I'll get right back to you. All right, guys, so you can see here I've begun to spread it. Now, this is not the thickness that I'm going to end up having it finally. I'm going to go ahead and spread the first layer, and I'm going to make sure that's even all the way across, and it's probably about 2 to 3 inches right now. And then I'll come back in the center of this bed right here, and I'll lay another load in the top and taper it off to the sides. That way it's not overflowing the bed, but we've got some good coverage here in the center. And that way she can come back in here and she can plant whatever she wants, and the plants will thrive because they've got good nutrition. And these wood chips are going to start breaking down and turning into black soil like you guys have seen in my previous videos. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bed spread. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up so you can watch this process. So hang tight with me. Now, some of you may be wondering why I'm not using a wheelbarrow out here, and it's because where we're able to park the truck with all the wood chips is quite a distance from this garden bed, and it's down several very narrow pathways that have probably 7 to 8 steps on each one of them. And so I can't take a wheelbarrow down those steps or I'll do some damage. So that's why you see me toting it around with this garbage can. Looks like we're going to need one more load. All right, guys, so you can see here I've gone ahead and laid the wood chips into this bed. Now, keeping this covered, guys, is going to keep your plant roots cool, and it's going to keep moisture to those roots as well. It's going to allow the plants to continue to grow year-round, even if it gets hot out here, and even if there's not enough moisture, not enough rainfall, because it's going to hold moisture underneath these wood chips. And underneath these wood chips is going to be at least 20 degrees cooler in the full sun than it is on top of these wood chips. So something to keep in mind. Now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and finish out these beds, and I'll come back to you and show you each bed when I'm done. All right, guys, I'm done spreading all of the fresh mulch into each one of these beds. Let me go ahead and give you guys a view of what they look like now. So here's one you guys can see. And keep in mind, guys, this is what they looked like before. And then once I churned them all up and loosened all of that soil and then placed the wood chips over the top, guys, this is what they look like now. So let me go ahead and start wandering down here. Like I said, guys, this is the one here that we did last year. So this bed was rejuvenated last year, and this is what it's done now. You guys can see lush green. Everything's got fresh growth. You can see the old stuff, and then you can see all the fresh new growth all through here. And that's what your beds will do, guys. That's what your garden bed should look like whenever you rejuvenate them and you add a whole bunch of organic material to this. And so I told the owners, you know, of this garden, my clients, that they needed to leave all of the leaves from throughout the year to fall and settle down into the soil to turn into good black fertile soil. And you can see they've gone ahead and left the leaves in this bed now. And so you guys can see the difference here, but let's go ahead and continue down here. You guys can see this bed here looks a lot better. It's all clean, set up with wood chips now. That one's completed. We've got a couple more down here that I've done. So we've got a little bit of a raised planter here that I went ahead and did. This was full of lava rock, and you can see the lava rock up here. All that lava rock's been moved up into this section, and this has been filled in with mulch as well on the top of it to go ahead and keep this bed cool and keep the moisture in this bed through the periods when it's not raining. You guys can see over here, this one has wood chips in it as well. This one was done a little bit earlier, and you guys can see that this is already beginning to take off in here. We did have one little section in here that has not yet grown in, and I'm going to go ahead and take some of these vines, some of these that have rooted underneath. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out and plant them over here to go ahead and keep that spreading. And then you can see here's another bed over here. See if I can do this without making you guys dizzy. And we went ahead and rejuvenated this bed as well. Now, some of you may be asking right about now, okay, that's great. That's how you rejuvenate your bed. That's how you get them healthy again. But then some of you are also at this point wondering, okay, now that I have, 6 to 8 inches of wood chips, 4 inches minimum, how do I plant in wood chips? And I'm going to show you guys real quick, guys, before we end this video. I'm going to show you how I go ahead and I do that so that you can plant in a way that the plants are going to do well and they're going to take off. So let me show you here real quick. Let me turn you around. So you guys can see right here, we've got a whole bunch of this English ivy growing here. It was from the bed that we did last year that we rejuvenated. And I'm just going to bring you guys in here and show you. So here's a plant here, English ivy. And if we'll pull this soil back here, you're going to see that this English ivy has basically sent a runner. So you can see this runner that's going through here. Now this runner is going to root at different locations, guys. I don't know if you can see this, but here are the roots that are going into the soil, guys. There's actual roots that are penetrating. There it is right there. You can see that root that's penetrating into the soil. If I can get the leaves out of the way. Right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this and I'm going to pull on those roots. I'm going to get a little bit of that root system, and each one of these nodes where this is coming up have rooted. So I've got roots. Let me get this out of the way here. You can see there's roots coming out of the ground here as well. So I'm just going to dig in just a little bit. I'm going to pull some of those roots as well. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I've got 2 sections with root right there. And I'm going to go ahead and just pinch this off at this spot on this leaf. So now you guys can see I have got the stem portion with basically 2 of these English ivies attached to it. And so now, guys, I can take this and I can split this thing in half right here. I can split it in half. It's got a root system here and a root system here. And now I've got 2 plants I can plant. And these will take off like this. That's how we got all of this bed established, guys. We started off with just several of these, and they all took off and started running all over the place. But let me get you guys over here, and I'm going to take you to this bed, and I'm going to take you to a spot and just show you how to plant this. So you know, you're not going to want to plant it into the top of these wood chips. These wood chips are just here to keep it cool and keep the soil from drying out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these wood chips and I'm going to pull these wood chips back. Right? So we're going to pull these wood chips back in the section that I want to plant in. And let me get down here. So we're going to pull them back in a little area here. Now I'm not going to split this, okay? I'm not going to split this. I'm actually going to plant this entire thing. I'm going to let it get a start with you know, this entire runner and have 2 plants here in one spot. So what I'm going to do, sorry, I wasn't pointing it the right direction. I'm just going to go ahead and in this soil that we already busted it loose. It's nice and soft. I'm just going to dig a little bit of a trench. You guys can see I've got a little bit of a trench in there. So now I'm going to take this cutting and I'm going to bury this cutting right here in this little trench. We're going to stick that down in there. And then I'm going to take all of this soil and bury it right back over the top. Now you can do this with strawberries. You can do this with vines of all different kinds. I mean, we've even taken azaleas and taken a branch off of the azalea and bent it down and buried it just like this, and then have the other end coming out over here on the other side, and it has rooted into the soil, and we're able to cut it off over here and end up having a whole separate plant that we can plant as well. So, but guys, this is it. This is all it is. You're going to bury that down into the dirt like this. And then after you've done that, you're going to take all your wood chips and you're going to push them right up, back up to the base of this plant. All right, you see that? So we've covered that. So now the root system is covered by the wood chips. So even if we get full sun right here, it's going to be 20 degrees cooler at the root system whenever this establishes, and it will be able to survive a lot hotter weather and use a lot less water in your garden because it's not going to evaporate. And this is super important, guys. I can't even stress the amount of importance of having mulch, having organic material in your gardens to promote good health in your plants. But this is how you guys do it. So what you're going to want to do now is, because I've just placed this plant here, the soil is pretty moist. We just had a rain that happened last night, and then we also had a rain again this morning. And so I'm going to go ahead and water this just a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and get this area a little bit wet and let that soak down in quite a ways, and that'll help to get this plant established in this spot. But anyway, guys, I wanted to bring you guys along today, just show you the process of how to rejuvenate your garden. It is not a difficult process, guys, and it just requires a little bit of work initially. So once you get all of these wood chips in on top of your soil, and once you've got stuff planted into this soil, guys, as these wood chips break down, they are going to begin to add fertility to your soil, and this is only going to compound year after year. So each year you're going to come back in and you're going to add wood chips back to that 6 to 8 inch marker again, and then those are going to continue to break down year after year. They're going to keep breaking down, and that soil is going to become more and more fertile, and you're going to notice you're going to get more production, you're going to get more growth, you're going to get more flowers, you're going to get more success in your garden, guys, year after year after year, if you'll keep up this process. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something today. If you have not subscribed to the channel, guys, I'd appreciate it if you would go and subscribe to the channel. If you end up not liking it and it's not something for you, you can always unsubscribe. But if you will, go ahead and like this video, guys. And if you know somebody that needs this, not just you, but somebody that you know, your family, your friends, that needs to know how to rejuvenate a garden bed, they've been complaining, I can never get anything to grow in my garden. Guys, share this video with them. get the word out there, guys, so we can all start growing and being a little more self-sufficient in our gardening, and not having to depend on our failing food systems for for supply. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Talk to you in the next one. Shalom under the dome.